She didn't come home that night. No call, no message, just silence. I sat at the kitchen table with a glass of water that had long since gone warm, checking my phone every 10 minutes like a fool. Midnight turned to 2, then 4. At some point, I stopped pacing and just sat still, too numb to feel anger, too tired to make excuses for her again. I kept telling myself maybe something came up. Maybe her phone had died. Maybe she stayed at a friend's place. But even as those thoughts ran through my mind, my stomach knew the truth. She wasn't stuck. She had chosen not to come home. The day before had felt off from the start. She'd been distracted during breakfast, texting someone nonstop. When I asked who it was, she gave me a weak smile and said, "Just Kelly from work." Kelly had become the new go-to name anytime I questioned anything. She left around 5:30 p.m. for a team dinner, wearing perfume she hadn't touched in over a year and a blouse I didn't recognize. I told her to be careful, and she nodded like I was her roommate instead of her husband. I stayed up waiting, first with concern, then with suspicion, and finally with a cold, hollow kind of clarity. Around 2:15 a.m., I heard a car pass by outside and hoped it was her. It wasn't. The silence of our home became unbearable. I walked into our bedroom, stood by her side of the bed, and stared at the untouched pillow. The bed felt like a stranger without her in it. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat down and finally accepted what I had been denying for months. I wasn't the man she came home to anymore. At 7:03 a.m., the door creaked open. I was sitting on the couch, still dressed from the night before. She looked surprised to see me awake, like she expected to sneak in unnoticed. Her makeup was smudged. Her voice was casual to casual when she said, "Morning. You're up early." I stared at her, and she looked away. That's all I needed. I didn't ask where she had been. I didn't demand an explanation. I didn't want to be lied to again. Instead, I walked past her and into our bedroom, pulled a small duffel from the closet, packed only what I needed: essentials, some clothes, my charger, and the book I never got around to finishing. I sat down at my desk, wrote a short note on the back of a grocery list, and left it on the kitchen counter next to her keys. "I'm leaving. Good luck with your team dinners." She didn't come after me. Not when the door closed. Not later that day. Not even the next. And that told me everything I hadn't wanted to admit for too long. The first night away was the hardest. I checked into a quiet motel a few towns over, nothing fancy, just a clean bed and a bathroom that didn't remind me of her. I sat on the edge of that bed for hours, still half expecting a call, a message, some desperate attempt to reach out. But the phone stayed silent, and as painful as that was, it was also freeing, because silence is an answer too. And her silence screamed the truth louder than any confession ever could. I kept playing it over in my mind. Her walking through the door like nothing happened, hair messy, voice light. She didn't look guilty. She didn't look worried. She looked finished, like I was a chapter she had already closed. And maybe I was. I just hadn't accepted it until now. By the second day, I turned my phone off. Every message I might have received would only hurt more: empty apologies or none at all. I didn't want to know which was worse. I took walks, long ones, through unfamiliar neighborhoods where no one knew my name. No one looked at me with pity. I bought a cheap journal and started writing down things I'd been afraid to admit for years. Not just about her, about me. About how I had been clinging to something that had already died. You see, this wasn't the first time she'd made me feel like I was a backup plan. It started subtly: canceled plans, work trips that didn't line up, emotionally checking out during conversations. But I kept making excuses. I told myself she was tired, stressed, going through something, and maybe she was. But she never let me in, never reached back when I reached out. I stayed loyal to someone who had emotionally left me a long time ago. I remembered one night about 8 months before all this, when we were lying in bed and she whispered, "Do you ever wonder what it would be like if we'd never met?" At the time, I thought it was just one of those weird late-night thoughts. I told her I'd probably be lost. She didn't answer, just turned over and went to sleep. That moment came flooding back now, and I saw it for what it was: a quiet admission that she was already drifting away. On the third day, I got an email. Not a text, not a call, just a cold, clinical message with the subject line, "Can we talk?" No emotion, no warmth, no apology in the opening. Just, "I didn't think you'd actually leave. We need to discuss what happens next." no mention of love, no mention of missing me, just logistics. Like I was a roommate moving out early. I didn't respond. Not yet, because I wasn't ready to have a discussion. What was there to talk about? That I finally respected myself enough to walk away? That it hurt like hell, but I still chose peace over being lied to? If she wanted closure, she'd have to look somewhere else. Because the only closure I needed was found in the moment I walked away and didn't look back. A week passed before I returned to the house, not because I missed her, but because I needed to gather what was mine. I didn't tell her I was coming. I half expected the locks to be changed or for someone else's shoes to be by the door, but it was quiet, too quiet, like the house itself was holding its breath. Most of my things were untouched, exactly where I had left them, and yet, everything felt different, smaller, colder, like I had outgrown it without even realizing. She wasn't home when I arrived. I was thankful for that. I didn't need a scene. I wasn't looking for apologies or explanations. I had moved past needing answers from someone who had already proven her truth through her choices. Still, I walked through each room slowly, letting the memories sting before I packed them away. Our wedding photo still framed on the bookshelf mocked me with its frozen happiness. Her smile in that picture was genuine once. So was mine. But love isn't just about how it starts. It's about how it lasts. And ours hadn't. I found a note taped to the fridge. It was handwritten, rushed. Just 3 sentences. I didn't think you'd really leave. I miss you. Can we start over? I stood there for a while, staring at it. Not because I was tempted, but because I realized something heartbreaking. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of herself she was when I loved her. She missed the comfort, the stability, the safety of knowing someone would always be there, even when she wasn't. But love isn't about comfort. It's about respect. And the second she laughed in my face and stayed out all night without a word, that respect was gone. I didn't take the note. I left it where it was. Let her live with those words. Let her feel the weight of the door that never opened again. That night, back in the motel, I slept deeply for the first time in months. Not because I was healed, not because the pain had vanished, but because I had made a decision that honored my own heart. I had chosen myself. It's strange how peaceful pain can feel when it's not tangled in confusion anymore. I've learned something since then. Sometimes people don't cheat with their bodies, they cheat with their priorities, with their time, with their silence, with every casual dismissal, every late night absence, every lie that's easier than the truth. Betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just someone making you feel like you don't matter, again and again, until one day, you believe them. I don't hate her. I don't wish her pain. I truly hope she finds whatever it is she was chasing that night she didn't come home. But I won't be there to see it, because I meant every word of that letter. I'm leaving. Good luck with your team dinners. And this time, I wasn't bluffing.